Most people have had the wonderful experience of losing a key, whether that be a house key, nuclear launch key, but these experiences almost always have one thing in common. It's accidental. This is where I come in. I and my outstanding intellect and unbridled ambition have decided to heed the calls of the people to lose their keys more frequently and make the greatest invention this world has ever seen since the invention of the Molotov cocktail. A machine that loses your keys. It all started one dark and stormy night when instead of sleeping, I was in my garage at 1 o'clock in the morning making a prototype. A prototype for an invention I knew could change the world with its greatness, ending war and strife across the globe for centuries. No, decamillenniums to come. Namely this. It works by placing your keys right here, and via a press of a button, the keys drop down onto this spinning platform, which then throws your keys across the room in a random direction. Though the material was a bit suboptimal, this proved the effectiveness of the machine because I lost the key over 5 times while trying to test if it would work. But that was only that, a concept. So I booted up Fusion 360 and made a successful model only after a couple of attempts. Yeah, it took a while. But here's how the finalized design works. The keys will sit here, and a sensor placed here will detect the key's presence. Now, after the person has walked away, the keys will drop into some sort of mechanism that will fling the keys across the room into the darkest corner, never to be found for generations to come. And speaking of that detector, I actually now need a way to detect when keys are placed on the hook, because it'd be pretty suspicious if the whole thing was active 24/7. Enter these things. This mysterious looking device is from the wonderful world of Amazon and is called an inductive proximity sensor. Basically, it'll detect metal if it's placed close enough to the sensor. So, with a proximity sensor in my proximity, I wanted to go set it up for some testing, but I somehow not only fried this one, but also the backup proximity sensor that I purchased. So in the interest of not going broke by buying proximity sensors and then continuing to fry them, I decided to push the detecting part until later. So other than the detecting problem, all I needed was that last spinning platform like from the prototype, right? Well, not exactly. Let me just put something into perspective here and what my actual goal is. I don't want this machine to just throw the keys across the room. I want this machine to yeet the keys across the room with power only otherwise found in the hands of Pokemon scalpers after the latest set is released. So obviously, my little spinning disc from the prototype wasn't gonna cut it. So I decided to redesign it, but better. Really? That's gonna fling a key across the room? A tiny spinning platform? The most it would get would be a couple feet. This is unacceptable. So yeah, I scrapped that idea. But this left me with another problem. I no longer had any idea of how to get the key from point A to point B. Oh, of course, tank treads. Why didn't I think of that? I first tried to make my own, which really didn't go very well. So after using some advanced negotiation techniques, I was able to convince my friend to give me some of his. My thought here was that I could drop the keys into some fast-spinning tank treads, allowing for not only increased power when yeeting them, but also increased randomness, because I could easily change the direction of the yeeting by changing the direction the motor was spinning. The treads use a specific gear to turn them, so I went to go attach my motor to the gear. Okay, scrap that, let's try something else. Clearly there's a better solution. Ow! Who keeps throwing? Huh. Guess that works. So here's the finalized design. The keys will go on the same model as shown before, but this time a spinning rod will be ready to fling the keys into the ceiling. And trust me, it's effective. Now that we have an actual plan, let's get to assembling. Hold on, we have a problem. As of now, my 3D printer produces absolutely abysmal quality parts, which is unacceptable for the high quality standard the Trust Me I'm from the Internet Corporation is known for. If only there was a way to solve this problem. Cause you know, like PCBWay is... Are you looking for 3D printing services at the highest quality? Well, I certainly was, and that's why PCBWay is the sponsor of today's video. I was able to send in my 3D model to PCBWay with the click of a button, and instantly I was able to choose my material and a quote of the price. Shortly after, it all arrived at my doorstep. When I got my hands on the parts, my only thought was that they were literally the most immaculate parts I've ever seen come from a 3D printer. They are sturdy, feel amazing, and every little detail is done with the highest precision and accuracy. So if you want print quality like this, just check out PCBWay with my link in the description. With an idea of a frame design, I started to tackle the next problem, remotely activating my motor. I thought about maybe attaching a digital potentiometer to the Arduino and finagling some other stuff, but then I had a brilliant thought: to mechanically turn it with the power of hot glue. The first attempt at this did not go well, nor did the second, but after many iterations of this and trial and error, I finally landed on probably the most inefficient way of turning the motor on and off, but it works. Now here I started to hopefully assemble the final design. However, I still had that problem from before, that of key detection. For this, I decided that the user will press a button after setting their keys on the hook as a form of key protection. This protection will only consist of a green LED turning on over the message "key safe," but the users of this device will probably think that it's actually doing something. However, little do they know, after only 15 seconds, the light will turn off and the whole mechanism will fling it to the ceiling as per design. Except that's not what happened when I went to go turn it on, is what I would say if I didn't finish it. See, originally I had this whole sad ending thing planned out, ending in this video becoming a 2-part series, but I decided when editing this footage that I was going to be far too annoyed if I had to edit 2 videos, write 2 scripts, etc., so here we are. First, I was able to order a new speed controller and dial which worked perfectly with my new motor. And secondly, I believe the reason the first motor broke is because of imperfections in the design of the spinning bar which caused vibrations and thus lead the motor breaking. So this time I decided to use a 3D printed part to reduce the vibrations and hopefully not blow itself up. Now, it took me far too long than I would like to admit to figure out how to get this motor attached to a block of wood, but with some screws and hot glue I was able to figure it all out. And well, I would show you footage of me completing the rest of this, but unfortunately my camera died while I was doing it and I didn't notice. Yeah. But that's of no matter because here it is in all its glory. The unsuspecting person looking for a place to hang their keys will hang them on the conveniently placed key hook. However, key hooks are dangerous, as any evil thief could simply go up and snatch them. So, they will press the key safe button. Little do they know, the key safe button does not in fact keep their keys safe, because after 15 seconds this bar will begin to spin, and the keys will drop down onto it, throwing them across the room, never to be found for generations to come. Well, this might be the stupidest thing I've ever built, but it was fun and significantly more time-consuming than I originally thought. Now, I'm a bit too lazy to do this now, but if this video gets 1,000 likes, then I'll go, pitch this to the general public and see if I can get some investors. But for now, I'll see you around. Okay, now that was just unnecessary.